and so I enjoyed science classes when I was in school. So I kind of followed suit. Well, I'm not sure I had to, but I enjoyed science when I was in school, and followed suit. And then I was fortunate enough to get a job opportunity at NASA, and jump for it.
Is this like a chemical engineer's job or a mechanical engineer's job? What kind of engineer are you?
So in school I studied chemical engineering, but many of my coworkers are mechanical engineers. The kind of work I do, so with these microgravity experiments, most of my collaborators on the research side are mechanical engineers.
Well, I was surprised to hear Cleveland. I know about Houston and Titusville and was it Alabama, right?
Right. So NASA has about 10 field centers spread across the United States, and the Cleveland facility is one of the oldest. It was developed or started under NASA's predecessor, NACA, the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, and that started in the 1930s to advance aviation technology. And people often forget that NASA is both air and space. It's the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. So we have a large program in aviation as well.
Well, I get the impression we're kind of getting away from space exploration. Is that kind of getting downplayed now, or are they still going after it?
No, I would disagree. So the President's plan is to increase funding for NASA. We're continuing to carry out both human and robotic space exploration. There has been a shift in directions, and that often happens. We're part of, NASA is part of the U.S. government, so we're affected by the political leadership from both the administration and Congress. So right now the new plan is to, for human space exploration, is to prepare to send astronauts, in the short term, to continue to do research on the International Space Station, but further ahead to send astronauts beyond the moon to do a asteroid rendezvous, to eventually send astronauts on to Mars.
Are there raw materials or anything up there that would be useful to us?
Yes. So on the moon, for example, it's been argued that that would be very valuable for us to go to the moon. There's a isotope on the moon that would be useful for making nuclear fusion, not fission, but fusion, making it much more practical. It's much more common on the moon than it is here on the Earth. And it would be a step towards making fusion more practical as an energy source.
Well, we could use a new energy source, right?
Yeah, and fusion would be a clean energy source without the radioactive byproduct that you get from fission.
Do you think there's any kind of like a good return on investment when we do research in like NASA and outer space?
Yes, I think so. There's a wide variety of spin-off technology. Our cell phones, for example, so smoke detectors,
miniaturization is
right. So computers, satellite, being able to predict the weather. There's a lot of benefits that we get in terms of the technology that make our life better here on Earth. But there's also improvements that I think we benefit from as far as national pride, inspiring our youth to consider careers in science or engineering. So I think some of those intangible things that are difficult to quantify are also of great value to our nation.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. About this direction the space program's taking.
Yeah, it's very sad to see what's happening with our space program. The latest diversion of the budgets into some private companies that are really building spacecraft that we built back in the 60s. The capability, not that great. I think NASA oversight of things, and I think the money flowing via NASA to the contractors is the proper way to go. I am all for space tourism, I'm all for privatization, but I'm not for diverting NASA money over to those programs. I'm for cutting edge, building new spacecraft that'll take us off this planet and onto Mars and other places. And I think it's a shame. I agree with Jim Lovell and Neil Armstrong and everyone else. I think the people that are retired from NASA that can speak out all have the same common sort of theme, that we wish that we were, building state-of-the-art, high-tech capsules and spacecraft.
So what we're doing is we're kind of mass-producing a generic quality thing rather than cutting edge.
We're sort of taking, instead of a giant leap forward, we're sort of going backwards. You got to build reliable systems. It's great to build spacecraft that can get up to the International Space Station. But on the other hand, why not build the state-of-the-art, cutting-edge stuff that can get you to the moon, get you to Mars? Instead, we sort of just shrunk our vision of what's possible.
Are the Russians or the Chinese or the Europeans doing it right?
Oh, someone's going to take over. I'll tell you that. We're about to give up our space leadership here. That was a hard-earned space leadership. Astronauts' lives lost. Apollo 1, Challenger, Columbia. And we are the leaders in space, but we basically just stepped aside and said we don't want to be the leaders any longer. And I guarantee Russia or China or India or who knows who else will step into that void. And it's not just space, it's technology leadership around the world. We seem like we just decided we're going to give that up, and it's hard to understand.
So our engineers are going to work for Japanese or Chinese or European?
No, I don't think that's happened quite yet. I don't think our engineers are moving to overseas firms. But at some point, if you're a, rocket scientist and a Werner von Braun kind of guy, you're going to go to where you can build stuff that moves mankind forward and pushes technology forward. You're not going to go to a place that is decided to sort of step back and privatize some things just because it's kind of a good way to go to privatize space. Again, we've been privatizing space. NASA oversees budgets. They get it out to the person that can build the best spacecraft. But I think NASA also has sort of a vision of what we can do in the future.
My name's John Porter.
Hi, John. Deb Menchaca.
Okay, they call me Jack Porter, and my show is Jack's Tea Party.
Jack's Tea Party,
and
okay.
It'll be on public access TV.
Okay.
And I ran into some of your kids, and
yes.
I'm wondering what is this program?
MTA is a 2-year program from that's through TBA ISD, the TBA Career Tech Center, and it is a program for students who are interested in engineering and robotics. And it's kind of a neat program because students come a half a day, and they get, not only do they get a technology, a hands-on piece, but they also get their science, their mathematics, and English and economics along with it. And students come from all over the region, all 5 counties. Actually, we've had students in the past that have come as far as Central Lake, from there, which is even outside.
How big is the program? How many students?
We run about 38 to 44 students. And it all runs at one time for 4 hours a day in the morning.
And what kind of capacity do you have? Can you take more students than that?
44 is our max, but usually we run a little bit less than that. But this year, actually, our junior class, right now we have 25 students coming in, so that's pretty big for us. So at some point, we don't have enough computers, we don't have enough, that type of thing. But right now, what a great problem to have when you have so many students that want to come.
Yeah.
And it's really neat because students get to learn in a different way. Not only do they have academics, but the academics we try to apply into their career field or what they're interested in. So it's pretty cool.
Okay.